seem really high to you? It changed. I don't remember being this high.
They raised it this year.
They raised it?
Yeah.
Raising the bar. Talladega Superspeedway.
All right, we're going to go ahead and continue on with media availabilities this morning. We are now joined by Brad Keselowski, driver of the number 2 Miller Lite Ford for Team Penske. Brad, you won here last fall in a must-win situation. You're in a very similar situation again this year. What's your approach to Sunday's race and advancing to the Eliminator round?
Well, first off, glad to be here at Talladega. I haven't done one of these in a little while. I need to make it a point to do a few more, but yeah, it's certainly a huge weekend. Not just for my team, but for the sport. With the last race of this bracket, which one? What's the name of this bracket?
Contender
bracket. Okay, one day bracket 2, and so we're in a decent position. Not quite as hectic as last season, but certainly not perfect either by any means. But should be interesting to see how it all unfolds. We know we need to have a very strong day and to be able to get to the next round. But the interesting thing is there's only one car out of the 12 in this bracket that doesn't feel that way. So that should be very exciting when it comes crunch time at the end of this race, and especially if something is to happen early in the race and someone gets damaged or eliminated with a wreck. So, as far as an approach, people ask me that all the time when I come to Talladega, and kind of always reminds me, I think it was Mike Tyson that used to say everybody has a plan until they get in the ring. Well, Talladega is the same way. Everybody has a plan here or an approach until they drop the green, and then it usually doesn't work. So, we've had some really good approaches here in the past that have worked, but we'll have to see. I'm not really all that interested in sharing what my plan is now, but hopefully it'll play out.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. Please state your name and affiliation. We'll start with Don, and then we'll go to Jonathan.
Hey, Brad. Don Coble with Morris News Service. Mike Tyson also said he was going to eat Lennox Lewis' children, so take that and...
Instead he ate Evander's ear.
Yeah.
Close enough.
This is one question, but there's 3 parts to it. When is blocking allowed or not allowed? Number 2, is it different at a plate race like Talladega? And number 3, does the chase even bring another level of scrutiny, or does it change things even again?
Well, that's a lot of questions. I'm going to do one at a time because I don't have that great of a memory, and I'm probably going to forget it, so just stay with me here. First one is, when is blocking allowed and not allowed? Well, I haven't seen a rule in the rule book yet against blocking, so I'm going to say it's always allowed. And then, you might get into some other garbage about driver codes, but, I've never seen a rule against blocking, not one that's been enforced. So that's the first answer. What was the second?
Restrictor plate racing.
What about it?
Is it different? I mean, is it different at a plate race than it is, say, at Atlanta or Vegas?
Oh yeah. What makes it different? Well, this year we're running restrictor plates everywhere, and sometimes it does feel like Atlanta is a little more similar to Talladega than what it ever used to be, but there's still a very, very big gap. Anytime you have to lift in a corner, it completely changes the type of racing. And here in Daytona, we don't have to lift, and so that really downplays handling and upplays strategy and tactics. So it's still quite a bit different. What was the third?
Does the chase add even another element to it?
Does the chase add even another element to plate racing? Absolutely. I think you're looking at this weekend, and there's certainly going to be some people that race scared. And racing scared to me means sometimes you race not to win, but to not lose, as far as the points are concerned. And at Talladega, that is a big effect on the strategy and the way the race plays out. I think we've seen races here. In fact, the last spring race, we saw that where the race stayed single-filed, really for a long, long time, which to me is kind of somewhat a showing of racing scared, where you're happy with where you're running and you don't want to do anything to jeopardize that, so you stay in line. So the tactics certainly change when the circumstances around them change, and the chase is certainly a change from a normal race weekend.
All right, we'll go to Jonathan, Jeff Gluck, and then Bob.
Jonathan Merriman, NASCAR.com. Brad, does the one attempt at a green-white checkered restart make the stakes higher at the end of the race if it happens to go into overtime, or is it just as much pressure if there was three?
Yeah, initially when I heard that there was going to be one attempt at a green-white checkered, I thought it was a big deal, and then I read somebody's stat that they posted, maybe it was Bob's, that there's only been one green-white checkered or multiple green-white checkered on a plate track in like 15 races, so odds are it's not going to make a big difference at all. Usually if there's a wreck, it happens on the last lap, not on the 1 to go lap or 2 to go lap, so probably won't make a difference.
We'll go to Jeff and then Bob.
Jeff Glenn from USA Today. I also want to ask about the green-white checkers, but previously you had said that taking one attempt at it is at least like a rock star coming out for an encore or something like that.
Yeah.
With that mentality, do you think that should be the rule for the Daytona 500 going forward and other plate races?
Yeah, I'm good with it. The hard part for me is, when you let the cat out of the bag and you do 3 attempts, it's hard to go back. It's hard to, I think some would say that's part of the value proposition for our sport, for some of the partners and stakeholders or fans. So it's hard to put the lid back on that, put the cat back in the bag, whatever metaphor you want to use, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. I support it, but I guess it really will depend on what the fans think at the end of the day. But I doubt there'll be any really meaningful impact.
All right, we'll go to Bob and then Lee Spencer.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. In light of Dillons' accident in July, will guys race any differently? I mean, will there be any look and say, man, we just can't do this or can't do that, or is it pretty much everybody will do the same, and if it happens, it happens?
No, everybody's going to do the same. I don't think Austin's accident is going to change the racing one bit. It's my personal opinion. We're race car drivers. We're here to win, and that's the risk we sign up for, at least in my eyes.
All right, we'll go to Lee and then Dustin.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Can you talk a little bit about ownership in the truck series? I just came from the 8s truck, and here's
The what truck?
John Hunter, Nemechek.
Yeah.
Kid won a truck race. He's still having trouble making it till the end of the season on their budget. Dale Earnhardt Jr., when we were at Richmond, Josh Berry had an exceptional run, but Jr. can't, get funding, from sponsors in order, to try to get a guy like Josh an opportunity. You're giving your brother an opportunity this weekend. Not sure, where the funding's coming from that, but other than your team, KBM, what's the Gallagher Motorsports team? Where's the funding going to come to perpetuate the series?
For the truck series, this specific question? Well, the sport's in a somewhat awkward position as it comes to funding. The problem, in my opinion, that you see with that is the sport has essentially, from a funding standpoint, relied so long on millionaires that were not afraid to lose money and not necessarily on a viable business model. And so owners that aren't afraid to lose money have come in time over time into the second and third tier, put a lot of money in, lasted 5 to 10 years, maybe less, lost a lot of money and walked away. And in doing so, they've upped the cost for the people that plan on sustaining a position in the sport. They've upped it in the sense of what you have to do to be competitive. I feel like I could probably operate my truck team at maybe 60 or 70% of the budget we spend right now. And in that case, it would be a lot closer or easier to break even than what it is right now. But in doing so, we wouldn't be competitive. We wouldn't be professional. compared to the other teams around us, with those that are willing to take a financial loss, and I would lose my interest without being competitive or professional. So, that's the difficult position I see in the second and third tier series. It's certainly different than the Cup level, but that's what it is. What it is. I know what I signed up for, so I don't have anything to complain about. I know I was quite happy to hear Dale with that piece you talked about with Josh Berry be so open and forthcoming, because I think he has one of the strongest voices in the garage. When anyone else says it, they're whining. When Dale Jr. says it, it's gospel. So I was really proud of him for that. But it's a tough position, and I always try to frame it in this sense. At the end of the day, is as a person, a professional involved in motorsports, I'm not really, besides providing entertainment, we're not really providing anything for the community. So in that sense, it shouldn't be easy. This should be tough. It should be very difficult to sustain yourself in this sport. And the bottom half should continue to show turnover. And so, it's our challenge to stay out of that bottom half. But there is like a knowledge that I have in my mind that there's always going to be turnover in the sport, and there should be, because this is not curing cancer. This is motorsports. It should be very hard to be a part of the game, and in some sense, I feel very strongly that there should be no free rides for those that don't perform.
All right, we'll go to Dustin and then Jordan.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. I have two questions. One is, if it's so hard to win a race, as everybody says it is, then why have guys, including yourself, scored victories in must-win situations in the chase when it's supposedly the best drivers going for everything? If it can be done now, why isn't it done in other situations? Or
it's a great question. Well, here's one way to look at it is, in some sense of the word or sense of the phrase, from 5th to 12th in points right now in this particular weekend could be said are in a must-win situation. That's 7 cars out of 43. So just looking at that from a pure odds perspective, it's not that low of an odds percentage as someone who has to win Sunday is going to win. So first off, I would reference it that way. More people now have to win than have ever had to win. So if you're looking at it from a pure Vegas standpoint, that's certainly compelling. But beyond that, the only real reference that I have from personal experience is last fall. And, I certainly made riskier and bolder moves than I would have made elsewise. Because at this point, the penalty for a bad day is really nothing, and the reward for a great day. So I think the risk versus reward changes dramatically. The teams take more chances, and there's more teams taking chances. So I don't think it's a simple equation. In the situation I was in last fall racing with Ryan Newman, he didn't have to win the race. And I put him in several positions where he was either going to let me win the race or we were both going to wreck. And my thought process on that, and it's not fair for me to answer for Ryan, but my thought process is he knew his situation and knew that he didn't have to win and knew that I was going to wreck all of us if I had to. And that would have been a very poor position for him to be in. So I think for that simple example, and there's a lot different examples and a lot more examples than that, it can change the game when you have to win and others around you don't.
Secondly, in the last 5 Talladega races, more than 60% of the incidents involving multiple cars have started in the top 10. If everybody's so saying it's supposed to be so safe up in the top 10, why can't you guys drive?
Why can't we drive?
Why is it happening there, or is it because people are doing although your case was a chase race, I mean, we're talking last 5 races, it's not all been chase races. Why is it that the problems start up at the front more?
I'd say that the racing is probably the most chaotic at that particular range around 10th place. Beyond that, why do we all wreck around the 10th place, the top 10?
You did it to yourself. You're what, one time well in the lead, too.
Yeah. It's just, I guess probably because you have to make riskier moves to get to the front, and I wouldn't necessarily say that a wreck in the top 10 is from bad driving. It's just, everything we do here is a risk versus reward proposition, and the odds aren't in your favor, and eventually you're going to wreck. You're relying on others to give while you're taking, and sometimes people are just tired of giving.
All right, we'll go to Jordan and then Claire and finish up with Jim Utter.
Jordan Bianchi, SBNation.com. Brad, comparing and contrasting the performance of you and Joey, he's had a little bit more success in this round, or throughout the chase, I would say, I think it'd be fair to say, than you. Is that encouraging, looking at that, saying, hey, we can reach that level, this team, this organization is capable of it? Is it discouraging? Is it neither?
Well, I'm extremely encouraged for Joey. Joey's having really, by every other season's measurement other than this format, a championship year. And so that's, I'm proud of that. He's, one of the closest friends I have in the garage for a lot of different reasons. And so, I don't take anything negative from it. I'm excited. I think it's encouraging for me in the sense that we know that we have the same potential, that we just have to find it. I think our teams operate quite a bit differently. And I'd say it's probably encouraging for my team to try new things and to be better and expand. So I don't take anything negative from it, but I'm certainly not happy to not be winning as much as he is. But that's not a negative connotation. I think it's an opportunity more so than anything else.
Maybe more like, is it frustrating for you that you're seeing this success and you're not able to obtain that?
No, it's not frustrating for me. It's I'm happy for Joey and his success, so I don't, I'm not discouraged by it. I feel like the sport cycles. I felt like last year, up until we had the issue at Martinsville, we were, probably we had 6 wins, with the most wins anyone last year, and I felt like my cars were, probably some of the best in the garage, if not the best. And the last few weeks we haven't showcased that. But I know it can cycle in the next 3 weeks. So I really feel like for our team that if we can get through this weekend, that we'll go to Homestead, all the way to Homestead. I look at Martinsville as one of our tracks where we were really strong in the spring, and I feel like we've put a lot of emphasis on that program, along with Phoenix, where we went and tested and we're blazing fast. And in Texas, where we've had good run almost every year and just done everything to not win the race but be right up there. So, from that standpoint, I would say that in order for us to win Homestead, if we make it that far, we need to be faster. But again, the sport is about cycles, and 4 weeks from now is a pretty extensive time period to hit a cycle, and I'm hopeful and positive that we can.
All right, we'll go to Claire and then finish up with Jim.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You can get help from Joey. Can he help you? Do you realistically think that Joey would be able to at some point help you in this race? And how much? And what do you think of when you think of the race? Try to put it out of your mind? Try to not think about it, race and feel it during the race? Or do you contemplate it a lot?
Yeah, definitely a teammate can help you. I feel like I wouldn't have won this race last year without Joey. We were running first, second, or third, I think, with 20 or 30 to go. We pitted, and there was a yellow right in the middle of the pit cycle, and I think we cycled out to 20th, which was kind of the story of us on white tracks last year. And, Joey and I worked together and got up to the lead. So I feel like we can do that again if need be. So I'm very optimistic about that, along with my teammate Ryan Blaney. And I feel like I kind of owe both of them a lot of credit for winning this race last fall. So I would expect that we'll work together some way. I would expect that a lot of other teammates will too, and we'll just have to be better.
What about your mindset? Do you think about it, or do you
Have I thought about it? I mean, of course you always think about it, but like I was kind of saying earlier, you could come here with a plan or approach, and when they drop the green, a lot of times it goes out the window. My first real thought is don't wreck. And if we can get through this race without wrecking, we'll have a really good day.
All right, final question to Jim Utter. Right up front.
Jim Utter, motorsport.com. Question about your truck series ownership. You've accomplished a lot since it first started, a lot of it very recently. You won at Daytona this year. What would it mean to you to win a championship?
Well, this has been, I think, first and foremost, like you were saying, Jim, the best year we've ever had with the truck team. And the best year we've ever had with results on the track, the best year we've ever had with the people working there and the culture. I mean, really the best year we've ever had in every form that you could probably measure a team, some tangible, some not. So I'm really happy about that. We've got a lot of positive things going on and really positive plans for the future. As far as what it would mean to win a championship, I think we have the right people in place right now to do it. I've been a part of the Truck Series with my family since its inception, where I think we've made 2 or 3 runs at a championship, and each time came up second or third, which has been really frustrating for our family. But I think in a lot of ways it would fulfill a legacy that my family has had in the sport for a very long time. And, I think it's important to note that when I first came to this sport, I never dreamed of winning a Cup championship. I never dreamed of really even winning an Xfinity championship. And the opportunities fell in my lap to drive for Dale, and then the opportunity fell in my lap to drive for Roger, and next thing I knew, I had championships in both levels. And you kind of look back in the mirror and you say, all I was trying to do was win a truck championship, and now I got these other 2. This is great. And you're like, man, we're way more than I ever dreamed of. But that's all well and fine. I'm very proud of those accomplishments, but I still want to do what I've dreamed of since a little kid and joining the sport, which was being a part of a championship-winning truck team. And I haven't done that. I've been really close. And that opportunity is as close, if not closer, than it's ever been. So we'd like to seize the opportunity.
All right, Brad, thanks for joining us today, and good luck this
No
weekend.
problem. Thanks, guys.